You're probably maybe the one person in the world who I have the most in common with because I wanted to be the craziest, prove to the world that I'm the most confident guy who could do what nobody else dare.
For me, it was almost the same, except I wanted to prove to the world I was the craziest and weirdest person. But when I had the Big Bang experience, I was like, okay, everything that I did before, all this mind fucking thing, can't even compare to like this, right?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Philosophy podcast. In this video, I have a very special meeting with Frank Yang. Frank is the guy, maybe, in the world that I have the most in common with. He makes videos naked too. Frank's been a great inspiration to me on this path to awakening. But also when I was a teenager, he was one of those people that I watched doing squats and explosive vertical leap training. He was one of the first people making videos about fitness and bodybuilding back then. He actually collaborated with me and Luke back in Santa Barbara 10 years ago. A few years later, he also got into the awakening path. There was a great shift that he experienced, and I'm curious how his life has turned out after that. How he looks at human behavior, desires, sexuality, and psychedelics is also in there. So it's gonna be very juicy. Frank,
What's up, bro?
so good to see you.
Good to see you, bro.
Wow, I can't believe we're talking live. It's
Live, bro.
Yeah, it's 10
Yeah.
years ago since we met in real life.
Yeah, wait, are you recording this?
Yeah, it's a recording in the corner.
And
Yeah,
let me turn on all my stuff. Dude, how's Luke, man?
nice. Luke, yeah, yeah.
Luke right now.
Luke,
Wait, you said you guys moved somewhere?
was that?
You guys moved somewhere, right?
We lived in Colombia for 2 months. In
Oh, so you moved, but you say you moved there, right?
well, yeah. Well, Luke actually, yeah, he's there now. So he kind of moved
Oh,
there, I would say.
oh, so he likes it that much?
Yeah, he does. So
Oh shit.
he was the one who got me there.
Let me turn this on and then we can. Oh shit. Where's the video? Oh, there you go. There.
Whoa,
See,
yeah. Wow.
that's clean, right? All right.
Yeah. That's pretty.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. Cool, man.
Yeah, and all
All
the
right.
the costume there, the
I put on the costume. Look at this.
is it Pokemon?
I don't know what it is, bro.
The hat
All
there is that
right.
Pokemon? The hat?
It's a mutated Pokemon.
Ah,
All right. Yeah, so it's been 10 years since we saw each other.
yeah. You were
Dude, I was
at
talking I just had a call, a group call with my group and my assistant coach. He actually found me through you.
really?
Yeah, and he's been following me
Whoa.
for like also like probably more than 10 years. No,
Oh,
he no,
that's crazy.
he found me through Luke. But then I think he also follows you. Because you and Luke are like doing a lot of things together back in the days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now
That's your
he's like
assistant coach?
yeah, now we're like teaching together, coaching together.
Oh. Oh, what's his name?
Full circle. Khan, his
Khan.
Vietnamese. Yeah,
Ah. Is it the
yeah.
guy I saw in one of your last videos? I think your last video.
Uh no, that's he was in my last video, but only the voice.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so 10 years ago we did the prank video in LA, right?
It was in Santa
Oh
Barbara.
no, what was
Oh
Santa
yeah,
Barbara, yeah, Santa Barbara.
you were
That's
first in LA meeting Luke
yeah,
and did some videos
yeah,
with
yeah,
him, and then you came to our
yeah. Yeah.
apartment in Santa Barbara, and I think you were there for a weekend, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did some we filmed a prank
You know,
or
from
an
the handing girls
experiment.
drugs. Yeah, handing people drug stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
giving
That I
pills.
think I also did a prank video of that during the same time with Josh Parlin, like at the gym.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was yeah.
2014, I think. Dude, that was crazy, man. Like, I think that was before my first Vipassana retreat, but I was already meditating, I think.
Mm. You started maybe just a little before then, or in that year.
Yeah, I think at that time I was still doing TM. And then I actually talked to you about it. Well, I remember we were doing squats, and then you were saying how, because I only knew you from the prank videos, right? And then I started talking to you when we were doing squat. I remember the specific moment when I was doing squat that you said you were also into Kelly Baggett,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
into vertical jumping too. And then so
yeah.
like we follow like almost the exact same path.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, you're probably maybe the one person in the world who I have the most in common with because
That's pretty wild, man.
that's crazy. Because it's that thing, the vertical leap, sprint
Vertical leap.
training, the yeah, vertical leap. Kelly Bagget, he wrote
Kelly
this
Baggett.
book,
Yeah.
The Vertical Jump Bible.
Yeah.
Uh,
Did you get into Daniel Ingram? Have you read Daniel Ingram's Master and the Core Teacher of the Buddha?
yeah, yeah, because you recommended it.
Recommended.
You
So
said
I say he's the Kelly Baggett of meditation.
that's what you said, and that made me want to
Yeah.
read the
Yeah.
the mastering the core teachings of the Buddha. Yeah, and that was a
Uh,
hugely important part of my
yeah.
practice. Yeah,
Wait, there's one more thing that was linking up everything. That's the prank videos.
yeah.
But you were doing the prank videos like way before, right? Like when I was still doing the bodybuilding thing. I never really got into prank, but like you were
Um,
kind of doing the naked thing. Yeah, the naked thing, because I was also doing naked stuff.
yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
that too.
That
Yeah.
thing, yeah, the naked. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a narrow market, with I mean, naked YouTube uh, social experimenters like you and I, not that many of us. And there's the Kelly Baggett vertical leap training. It's so, in a
Like
way,
everything we
unrelated,
did, yeah,
but
everything we did is like just more and more narrow, more and more narrow. And when you got to meditation, it's like, okay, how many people in the world are doing vertical jumping, calibrating, and sprinting? Not that many,
yeah,
even among the fitness crowd. How many of that crowd is doing naked videos? Well, not that many. And I also did some naked videos. Well, like I did mostly like on my underwear, but you took it to the next level.
yeah,
And then
maybe,
how many
yeah,
people who were doing that got into the enlightenment path or
yeah,
meditation or going even more narrow?
yeah,
So it's just like we're
yeah.
like it's interesting as fuck. Yeah.
It's interesting. And I think so I think you were there I mean the 2014 in the fall, at our house, at our apartment in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
I remember that's the time I got into Jed McKenna. I don't know if it was before or after meeting you, but I don't think we talked about that then.
Oh, you already got into Jen McKenna when I met you 10 years ago?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
around that time.
I
Yeah,
haven't gotten into Jen McKenna yet. That's crazy. Jen
yeah,
McKenna and Kelly Baggett are also kind of similar too, because they're I don't know, it's just something about them that just make total sense, but then they're so niche.
yeah, yeah,
Same with Danny Ingram. Jen McKenna is another one. Yeah, I discovered Jen McKenna after my first retreat, which was 2015.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's not too long after. It is, yeah. That book really resonated on some. It doesn't resonate with everyone, I think, but I
Jen
just,
McKenna doesn't resonate with anyone. Yeah, but he's still pretty popular. It got kind of popular, I think, as time went on.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's also another thing. Yeah, Jed McKenna, not just the awakening stuff, but also Jed McKenna. That's also another niche in awakening again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Niche of the niche of the niche.
Yeah.
Wait, so
So
like, how did you get into Jen McKenna? Like, did you do a retreat before that, or like, tell me about your meditation path. Like, how did you get into meditation?
it was,
What year?
yeah, I got Eckhart Tolle influenced in 2011, 12.
Ekatoli got you to Jen McKenna.
Yeah, in a way, because it started hitting some it gave me some insight, you could call it, that everything you have is this moment. And for some reason that stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, everything is this moment. And then I started enjoying sitting on benches or just enjoying the moment, you could say, and then uh, got into some kind of meditation routine, but it was really on and off. It was 20 minutes some days, and some periods without it. And then 2014, I've been doing all those pranks and stunts, trying to challenge myself and push the string of social pressure, and yeah, I was really ambitious with that. And
I
then
actually think how we did, like going on public, it's very good cleaning up work, like deconditioning some condition already. Even though while doing that, we're probably building up some more condition as well. So there's kind of like this net, but I think overall it was just perfect for the journey. Like
yeah,
so many
yeah.
people that got into reality before, even maybe they're now all into like making videos, but there were a lot of them into pickup, a lot of them were into like fitness.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot of
it
people are
seems
leaving.
like many
A
people
lot of them
have
are
been trying to do something ambitious.
philosophy. Yeah. Yeah. Just going out there and then pretty much a lot of ego stuff really makes you not just see the ego, but start to deconstruct the ego. Because doing all that stuff actually was a lot of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. It was it was nerve-wracking, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It
then
was
also,
that for you too?
yeah, of course. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of suffering making those videos in public, actually.
Mm,
Like when I was doing it, I had fun, of course.
mm,
But I always say, even though before there was a lot of contraction, I always say like I didn't have resistance even back then. So even though
mm.
I was walking around naked and then I would feel very contracted, there was no extra resistance on top of that. I was still in a flow state, but that was a flow state in a dual state. So I look at flow state, like a temporary flow state, as kind of like contraction without resistance. But the natural state is kind of like expansion without resistance. But I always
Oh,
knew how not to resist even resistance. So just by doing those pranks, I'm sure you can relate. Just by doing those pranks in the moment, you're just going all out, even though it was nerve-wracking, but then it was still a kind of a flow state for you, right?
yeah, when the act was happening, totally flow state. And then between the filming sessions, I was just nervous or pressured or what's going to be the next thing. And uh, it still
And
kind of
also,
is. If I'm going to do something, if there's a filming session going on sometime this week, it bothers me a little also.
yeah, yeah,
But
same
but
before.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
when I was
I'm
gonna do something like this week, and then a few days before, I would maybe feel a little anxious.
yeah.
But nowadays, I can do the same thing, and then I won't be nervous doing it or before it. I just won't think about it. So, but
Oh,
even though that's the case, I don't do most of the stuff I used to do anymore because it's just not in me to do that anymore.
well, you used to be nervous or anxious, but now if you have something, some performance to do, some
I
filming or
don't,
so.
yeah, I don't plan anything anymore.
Hmm,
Everything that I film out is just complete in the moment. I never plan stuff, but before there wasn't that much planning either. I know a lot of YouTubers that will plan it way ahead and like get everything together and whatever. I did a little bit of that before, but still I was kind of still very spontaneous. But now it's just I don't plan anything. Whatever I film is just what's in the moment. So I just film what's reality gives me. Yeah.
so you can still do you still have the you probably still have the obviously you have the ability to plan, you're showing up here at
Of course.
6 p.m., but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a different way
The
of
plan-
relating with planning
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing things. Yeah.
Yeah. Even yeah, now if I plan things now, it's almost all of it is just because other people want to do something. Like for example, this call. But
Mm.
like most of the stuff that I film in my videos is just what's happening in my life.
Mm.
But there was a couple of occasions I did a few Myron Gaines video, even after like awakening. There was just before like when I did it, there was a lot of like contraction here. Most of it is excitement. Like I feel like I'm the shit. I want people to look at me, all that stuff. But I,
Mm.
I actually did it like Myron Games just for fun, just in the moment. I was like, hey, why don't we go do Myron Games right now? Just for the hell of it. And then I didn't feel any contractions doing it. I didn't care if people look at me or not. It was just, you know,
Yeah.
just relaxed.
So
So
again, you cared a little bit about that
before,
before
before, yeah, I think
the
before I did
May
it a lot.
the
Yeah.
2020 May shift. UK had
Before that, yeah.
before that, but
Before
after
that,
that,
yeah.
it's been
It's been 3 years.
not that
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
I can up to naked probably right now and not feel self-conscious at all, even though there's no inclination for me to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um,
That's cool. And well, yeah, yeah. Since you asked, I could just finish the Jed McKenna thing. It was so yeah. So there was those pranks and the ambition of I wanted to be the craziest, uh, prove to the world that I'm the most confident guy who could do what nobody else dare to do.
mhm.
And then there was yeah, there was the naked guy picking up girls, and there were some other things, embarrassing myself. And I had this one idea of I wanted to streak a big football game, and I was in
Oh,
the World. Yeah, I was in the World Cup 2014 in Brazil, and we had the tickets on the first row in one of those games. It was actually USA playing USA against Belgium, and it was the second round after the group play, so it's starting to get serious and heated and exciting. And but then we came to the game and we realized that it's not the first row next to the field, it's the first row on the second balcony on the, you know. So we were pretty far from the pitch, but I was like, okay, no excuses. I will just chug a beer and a half in the break, and then I will do it sometime in the next half. And so it started to get later and later, and I'm like, okay, now I have to do it. And I walked up and down the stairs towards the row to the fence, and I was paranoid of the one of the security guy looking at me. I thought he was looking at me, but when I look at the video now, he doesn't care at all. And then there was this perfect moment to jump in. The ball was there. I wanted to get air time, maybe 50 million people watching or something. And then I know the moment is there, but there's so there's a new floor I have to jump over. Um, so there was that, but then there was also these rational, I don't know how rational they were, but the thoughts of I don't want to be in jail in Brazil. I don't want to piss off the countries here, ruin the game. So I was like, not today. And then I run up, and then I felt so disappointed because I faced a limit. Um, and I knew that, okay, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to get arrested. So it was like an identity crisis. And but I also knew that I had a lot of this dedication or focus. I could be really interested in one thing. So I asked myself, what's the most successful thing I could attain in existence? And then to me, the answer at that time was what Buddha was talking about. Whoops, enlightenment.
Wow,
And then I searched for books. What's the one
oh,
book that can sum up
that's
uh,
crazy, dude.
all
This is
wisdom?
shit.
And then I found the
But
Jed McKenna.
oh, Janet McKenna, okay.
Yeah.
But that was after Power.
Was
So
that?
you already had a. That was after you read the Power of Now, right?
That was a couple years after, 3 years
Yeah,
after,
so
yeah.
you already had a seed planted of enlightenment, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. Yeah, so it was definitely a sense of that. You know, I remember he said, Eckhart Tolle, who is the one who has the experience of being you? That was also another Zen Quan kind of, you know, I could see a space I hadn't seen before, like
Mhm.
from a level I hadn't seen before. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was almost the same because I wanted to prove to the world I was the craziest and weirdest person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just trying to come up with as many my fucking ideas as I could. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then and I did all that, and then that just kind of led me to meditation, kind of because I wanted to be the most creative person I can possibly be, so I can mind fuck people.
Mm.
But I also wanted to be the most creative person because I just have an intrinsic desire to upgrade myself. So that's why all the fitness stuff come in, like transcendence, vertical jumping, be as philosophical as possible. And then I was like, okay, if I want to increase my creativity, what else can I do? And then I got into meditation. And then
Mm.
also got into meditation because of, I had so much sexual desire. I wanted to like reduce my sexual desire. But that's also tied in with the creativity because part of the identity of being artists is artists are, fuckboys. They're all like creative. Creatives are like always fucking around. It's not that because I read about that. A lot of artists are fucking around because I was like fucking horny so much. But I was the horniness and the creativity really went together for me before. So that was just the whole package of like being a creative artist and like fucking a lot of girls, pick up and all that stuff. It was just like the same package, like fucking 100 girls in a year project. Just wanted to like keep pushing the extreme. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then got into
Yeah.
meditation. Then yeah, and then doing retreats. And then I also was like, okay, what is the most mind fucking thing ever, right? But at the time, of course, at that time, I didn't really knew that awakening or the meditation experiences or even psychedelic experiences are like there's just the universe fucking itself kind of thing. It's so mind fucking that you don't even have a mind anymore. That the
Mm.
universe fucks you so hard, or maybe just you yourself fuck yourself so hard that your mind just like disappears, quote unquote. So that's just part of it. It's like, oh, well, when I had the Big Bang experience, I was like, okay, everything that I did before, all this mind fucking thing, can't even compare to like this, right?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so
And
interested in
now it's
that.
like I don't have any creative ideas anymore, actually. Like,
Mm.
even though I'm still doing creative stuff, like my mind just does not go there anymore. Like I look at my old artworks, like just paintings and drawings and sculptures, or even some of the old videos of like my fucking videos, like David Lynchian kind of ideas. I don't have any of those ideas anymore, actually.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Very interesting for someone who is kind of in the middle, where I have these ideas that the maybe my mind still wants to release, but there's also another part of me that is okay with it not being released, or is okay with just watching reality or the moment create itself.
Yeah, but then you realize that's actually the most creative thing ever. Like everything that you try to do with cranks, with art, my fucking even sex is like in the moment, in the present moment right now. It's like the
Mm.
universe fucking itself, creating itself,
Yeah.
reality creating itself, or your mind is creating this entire reality moment to moment, and you can't get any more creative than that. That's
Mm.
why for me, just filming things like right now, even if I just get my camera out and just film this right now,
Mm.
it's creativity. For me, it's creativity with a capital C.
Yeah.
And I'm just as a channeler. And also the part about the sex drive too, it's just like my sex drive has gone down to like almost non-existent right now. It's like I think for the last 2 months, I fabbed maybe like 3 times. Versus before I was fabbing 3 to 5 times a day.
Yeah. 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 Well,
And
you were
another thing
highly.
that yeah, and then when you said that right now you still have some creative ideas, it's like I remember when I was going through the path, I was still having personal creative ideas, but that was going into how to express the Dharma more and more and more.
Mm.
Like now the creative before when I had some creative ideas, it wasn't so much about expressing Frank Yang or expressing some crazy random surrealist idea just to mind fuck you and just to show you how creative I was. It was a means to an end to kind of express the Dharma in a more creative way. So there was still a little bit of like personal creativity in there when I was still going to the path. Even so, for a time for a few months, maybe a year after the beginning, there was still a little bit of that. But
Yeah.
now that completely disappeared. That not everything that I create now, it's just what's going on, or just the conversation between me and other people.
Yeah.
Like I don't even have anything to write about anymore. Like there was a phase where I wouldn't have that many creative ideas personally anymore, but I was having insights about the path. I was having insights about like emptiness or like meditation, whatever, and then I would like write them down.
Mm.
in a notepad, expressing it, maybe posting on Instagram. But even that's gone. I can't remember the last time that I actually wrote any insights down.
Mm.
But I'm still deepening. But the part of the deepening now isn't about new insights anymore. It's about just the dissolution of even deeper conditionings. So there's not much to say anymore from me, except when I'm in a conversation, I have a lot to say, obviously,
Mm.
but I don't think about spirituality anymore, or I don't think about like creative ideas or art, anything like that.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty dramatic change, like internally in terms of,
Mm.
but the interesting thing is like I'm creating more now than before, actually. Like
Yeah.
I'm working, but then it's just completely effortless.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you are posting quite a bit now on
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's just
just as
no
many
plan.
videos now, I think, as before the shift, it seems.
What's that?
It seems like
Yeah,
you a lot of videos now
or
as well.
yeah, I kind of post a video like probably like once a month.
Mm.
But it's also my videos are a lot longer now because like yeah, I don't know. I just this is the way it happened.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
just I wanted to in order to explain something, like I wanted to keep it as short as possible, but still whatever topic I'm on, I want to explain it as thoroughly as possible, but
Mm.
still try to keep it as short as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my creative process right now.
Mm. The I mean, I'm sure something happens with ambition as well.
Oh,
The
which is completely
yeah,
gone.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Before there was before there was ambition on the personal level, of course, you know, you wanted to like want everyone to see you, whatever, gaining subscribers. I'm sure you can relate to that. That used to cause a lot of suffering
Mm.
too. But
Mm.
then even when I was going through the spirituality thing, even after the Big Bang, there was still some kind of inclination to want people to know about this, to want to share this, to want people to know that how awakened I was. But that slowly disappeared now to right now to zero. Like right now, when I express things, even though I'm still expressing, sometimes even more,
Mhm.
it doesn't hit it doesn't land anywhere for me. Like even if people say, "Oh, this is great. I'm having so much experiences." When I watch your video, I have, you know, I have a glimpse. Before that used to get me kind of hyped, but
Mhm.
that slowly dissolved. Oh, now even comments like that don't land anywhere anymore.
Mm. No.
Yeah.
So
So
the
I don't even care. I don't care if people like know about this anymore.
mm.
But that actually gives you more freedom to express it without any kind of personal agenda or any contractions anywhere.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever is supposed to come out of you is coming out of you.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the thing is though, even before it's like that too, actually. You know,
yeah,
it's just that
yeah,
even
yeah.
before all those things to like, I thought I was doing it to, you know, to my fuck people or to gain attention or whatever. But that's just an extra thought you're putting on top of reality that's already unfolding by itself. So even before, that's why people say, what am I going to do now without a self? How am I going to create without a self? How am I going to do things without a doer? Actually, you never had a self, you never had a doer. You were doing all those things before. So right now, the only difference is that thought, I'm doing this, or that I'm in control is gone. That's really the only difference. But that insight would change how you create, of course. But if your natural inclination is to create, you're gonna continue to create. Like you too, like you're creating different things before, but you're still doing podcasts, you're still like creating. So I always say like reaching a natural state is kind of like just going back to how your body might has always been wired before all this conditioning about piled up.
Mm.
If you stop creating after realization, that means that wasn't part of your natural inclination. So at the end, true nature with the capital T and R merges with the true nature of the person until the absolute and the relative, they destroy each other and become one in a sense.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard you say something similar before. Let's say I have a big shift too, and then whatever is happening then is probably my natural inclination.
Yeah.
But
And you probably get better. Yeah.
yeah, huh. Hmm. Yeah, the it's so hard to talk about the thing about dropping control and and self and because there can be this experience sometime It's not like, oh my God, like it can be, and sometimes in a psychedelic trip. Um, but there's this. It's been going on this way. It's always been the case.
Always been the case, yeah.
Yeah, and that's so weird about it, and interesting that it's like it everything looks like it always has been looking. I see the same thing, or there's no extra visuals. Uh, but it's like it's turning one time around and staying at the same place, and then it suddenly looks totally different.
Yeah,
But
that's a good way to describe it. It's like a
it,
reversal ground shift. It's like it's the same reality, but it's flipped.
yeah,
Reverse figure flip, right? So that's why they say before enlightenment, there's the mountain. During enlightenment, there's no mountain. After enlightenment, there's the mountain again. But now this mountain, there's no you there anymore. There's just a mountain. The mountain is just perceiving itself. Yeah.
yeah. Oops.
Yeah. And it's like another way to describe it is everything is different yet the same.
Yeah.
The ah or the trippy visual, that's the no mountain phase. That's the rest of your ego's respond to what's already the case.
Yeah.
But slowly even that gets dissolved.
Wow. Yeah.
And then
That's the
there's
reaction.
just
Yeah.
yeah, there's no more
Mm,
reaction. Yeah.
mm, mm.
And even that inclination to really want people to know about this, really want people to experience it, that's also coming from that as well. That's also coming from the rest of your condition, the rest of your self's dissolution, the byproduct of the self dissolution. When the self is dissolving, the inclination to want to share this, to want people to know about this, is actually part of that dissolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot, even Daniel Ingram, when he wrote the quotation of the Buddha, he said he wrote that most of that during like third path.
Yeah. I
When
remember. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't think I can write a book right now. Maybe like I can, like maybe like someday will rise. But like if you tell me to write a book, there was a desire to write a book like throughout the entire path.
Hmm.
But right now I haven't found in a while, but I'm just kind of creating because this is just what I've been doing, for like the last 10 years. But if you tell me to sit down and write a book about my journey right now, I wouldn't even know where to start. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So how
Sometimes
is the
my
ambition part for you? That's also disappearing, right? Or like almost completely gone. There's probably still a little bit like old conditioning about that around that.
oh yeah, there's definitely left.
Mhm.
There's definitely something left of ambition, of um, desiring approval and aversing disapproval. There's some contractions there. Yeah, some
Yeah,
pulls.
that part goes away at the very end. I'm not even saying this is the end or anything, but for
Hmm.
me personally, that part about approval, even when I was reading the book by Jeffrey Martin, do you know Jeffrey Martin? You might like that book, The Finders.
Okay,
And then he
I'll
was
check it out.
about the Finders. He was saying the need for approval goes away very, very later on the path.
Yeah.
Even very realized people, there's still a little bit of that left in them. That's why they like to be teachers and gurus and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's very interesting, right?
So, for example, someone like, well, Adyashanti, I don't know if he
He
wants
says
to
that
be a
something
guru.
similar.
Oh,
He said,
he's
Adyashanti, I was just thinking about Adyashanti now, actually. He
yeah.
said when he had his final awakening, it wasn't a big shift. It wasn't like the first like samadhi experience. It was just almost like a penny that dropped. It was like a sense of freedom. Yeah, that's it, the sense of freedom. Because you can be in a God state, like God consciousness state, and you still not feel completely free. Because like the God consciousness state is actually not the final thing. Like I talk about this in a lot of my videos.
Hmm.
Sure, I can describe this as being the Godhead, like
Hmm.
24/7, but like I won't even describe it like that anymore. you can't really describe it. But when I was going through the God state, I feel like 95% less suffering and more free than previously, but there was still something that's holding me back. That something is the same as that sort of this attachment, the very subtle solidity that's still somewhere in the body, my very subtle conditioning, that's still trying to claim this God thing as yours. And
Yeah.
the desire to want to be guru, want to teach, a lot of that comes from that actually. And it comes from this experience of like this mystical experience of like oneness and unity. But when I was trying to say, he woke up out of oneness when that last penny dropped, and then he felt a tremendous amount of freedom from the human perspective.
You talked about
Like,
you mean Adia, right?
yeah, he
Yeah.
had like two, like his first awakening at 25, and then his quote unquote final awakening. Even though he's still deepening, even though when I hear his retirement talk, he said he's still like deepening. So the deepening goes on forever. But then when he said that he's quote unquote final awakening at age 32, he just realized that a lot of people said that actually, like the need to please other people. It's so basic. It's like, oh, you don't really care about what other people think anymore. Like
Mm,
truly don't care. It's not like before when I act like I didn't give a fuck about what other people think, but I still deep down inside I still wanted people to care that I didn't care about what other people thought.
mm-hmm,
But then even after the shift, there was still a little bit of stuff inside me that wanted people to see that how awakened I was,
mm-hmm.
or like
Yeah.
being identity of being an awakened being. But
Yeah.
then if you go deep, you continue to integrate, that's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in theory, maybe teachers like Adia had a little of that
Maybe. I'm not sure.
playing
I
a
can't
role,
say for him.
but yeah, it could also be that he that's what is coming out of him very naturally, just to
I
teach.
think so. Yeah,
Great.
I think for Adi,
Yeah.
I can't say
Yeah.
about Adi, but I think just observing Adi because I follow him pretty closely. There's something he said that's interesting too. He said the role of being a teacher just fell into his lap.
Yeah.
Like he didn't really care about being a teacher actually.
Mm,
And a lot of teachers said the best teachers are the ones that don't really want to be teachers. And then he was one of the people that I think said that. So for me, he's always very authentic. Even though after he started teaching, maybe there's some identity in there still. I don't know. I'm not him. Maybe
mm-hmm.
even if that's somehow still around, it didn't really get in the way of his teaching from my perspective. Like
Yeah. Like,
he didn't have any
yeah.
scandals. He always seemed very genuine. So you can still have some identity there and maybe even some little bit of need for approval and still be a great teacher and still not abuse
Mm,
the students. But there are
yeah.
a lot of teachers that abuse their students, and the desire to be recognized as the spiritual God is very
Mm,
heavy in a lot of teachers, and that can be really ugly.
mm,
That still doesn't mean that they don't have the realization. It's just that it's not completely integrated or it's not deep enough, maybe. Because
mm,
like I started talking about this, even like coaching people, when I still have some of that, and I knew what that felt like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have to go through a lot of purging, or was it really confrontational?
Yeah,
The
see, the funny thing, I always say when you're 98% suffering free, that 2% that gets suppressed, like I talked about in my last video, sometimes
Yeah.
non-duality, this vast space, this balance awareness can sometimes suppress some of your very deep conditioning, and you just hide behind spirituality or hide behind the God mind, and those
Mhm,
stuff never get looked at. But but that kind of happened to me a little bit. So sometimes it became confrontational, and I would sometimes get triggered by the old stuff, like approval, and then wanting
mhm,
people to think that I'm a spiritual, like, guru or whatever. I
yeah.
never really wanted to be a guru, but I wanted people to see this thing.
Mhm,
I'm
mm,
glad that I'm glad I went through that because I worked through a lot of that just by experiencing that and by expressing it, by making videos about it. That was part of my deconditioning process. That was part of my dissolution of that identity just by
mm,
expressing it, right? So the 2% that comes out when you're 98% suffering free can
yeah.
sometimes feel like 98.
Yeah.
So
Because
I'll
it's
be like 98% of the time would be like mystical, fucking like just, unity, bliss. But then the 2%, the dark night that came from that 2% could be pretty intense.
Hmm.
But then you
Yeah.
go beyond bliss. Even so, right now I don't feel bliss. I don't feel any energetic shifts. I don't no dark night. It's replaced by this tremendous amount of freedom and peace.
Hmm. Do you still experience what we in Vipassana call cessations? Like these
Not that much. No,
not that much of it now.
no. Even cessations are kind of gone.
Hmm.
I don't know why that is. But sometimes if I still do like do nothing meditation, my only practice now is do nothing meditation. I don't do Vipassana anymore. So sometimes when I do the do nothing meditation, I'll have something like a cessation, but I'm still conscious during it. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. I can feel like when I have a cessation before, it was like boom, complete blackout. And when I
Yeah.
come back from it, it could be like a huge surge of energy coming back. Or it was like very, very powerful. But like, oh, the whole universe got deconstructed, disappeared, and then the whole universe came back. That's a really powerful experience. But now it's just like
Mhm.
click, and usually I'm still conscious, so I can still feel like every time there's a cessation, there's a little bit of condition that gets dissolved. I think that's part of this the utility of a cessation is that every time you have a cessation, a chunk of your karma gets permanently deleted. So
Yeah, I
I
agree.
look at cessation, right? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
Michelangelo chipping away the marble until you reveal the formlessness underneath. So every time a big chunk comes out, you chip little bit of it, a little bit of it, a little bit of it, and then a small chunk comes out, and a small chunk comes out. But when a chunk that's big enough that comes out, that falls away, is enough to give you a cessation. So cessation happens when a big enough chunk of your condition gets deleted and never return anymore. Right. So I can still feel that that's still happening sometimes, but it's so tiny and so insignificant because my conditionings are mostly dissolved that I'm still like conscious doing it. I don't know the mechanism behind that, but that's just how I observe it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So how do you see the journey is coming forward? I mean, I guess there's like I interviewed Angelo DiLullo, the Simply Always Awake
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
He said
Yeah.
so I asked him about the journey after liberation, and he said and I talked about healing, and he said the wonderful thing about it is that no one is doing it, but it's still there's still deepening going on. And I was like, how can the insight deepen? And he said, well, there's a deepening of love, deepening of the other things that the insight causes, I guess. I'm putting a little
Yes.
words in his mouth, but do you
Totally
feel
agree.
like it's just going on itself
Yeah.
now?
It's going on.
Yeah.
Everything that I do right now, if I go out into the world, is engaging with people. That's all just part of the integration. And life will show you whatever else that needs to be dissolved, and it will dissolve it for you, and everything will self-liberate. There is deepening, but there's no one there to do the deepening. Yeah, but you also have to be careful not to spiritual bypass because a lot of people, even after realization of anatta, after the have a pretty deep insight of no self, they
Hmm.
can use that to bypass some of the traumas. They can be like, oh, there's nobody here, there's nothing to heal. So I actually realized that sometimes that's a really good lens to use, but other times it's actually more useful, even after realizing no self, to switch to the self lens, to switch to the dual lens. Because now you realize there's no difference between self and no self. There's no
Mm.
difference between duality and non-duality anymore. But
Hmm.
sometimes some of the traumas and some of the deeper conditionings can only be resolved when your mind still thinks there's a self. So you kind of go back to pretending to be yourself, or even going back to your childhood and then visualize some of the times when particular triggers keep triggering you. So you pretend that time exists, you pretend that the self exists, and then you kind of work through some of your traumas through that lens, which
Yeah.
is just as any other lens.
Yeah.
And it's not even pretending time doesn't exist because like time and space don't exist, but at the same time they do. So that's the paradox. You know, when you say there's no self or like time doesn't exist when there's nothing here, that's already a duality actually. So a lot of people actually can get stuck in emptiness or get stuck in no self. But the way I experience things now is like it's neither self nor no self. Because even the feeling of no self comes from some kind of a self, actually. Someone asked the Buddha, is there a self or not? He didn't respond. Oh, is there a self, Mr. Buddha? He didn't say anything. And it's okay, is there no self? He didn't say anything. Buddha never taught no self because he never taught self. He taught that the self is just a codependent arising process. Can you say that exists or not exists? You can't say they exist nor not exist.
Hmm. Oh yeah. That's yeah, because yeah, a lot of people have assumed that there is no self, and that's what we're teaching here. And but we don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's this
This is
cosmic joke.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
true and not true at the same time.
Not true. It's always not true and true at the same time. But even that's a view too. So you just
Yeah,
gotta be very vigilant about how you are emptying out stuff. That's
yeah,
why outside emptiness is even empty of emptiness. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Can't be described.
There's there was this quote that I posted a couple of days ago about Nikajana. He said, I don't
Who?
know if he said this or someone else this Nikajana.
A teacher or a is it a
Yeah,
state or
he's like the second coming Buddha. I call him the Kobe Bryant of enlightenment.
okay?
Yeah, he's really trippy.
Yeah. If Buddha
Or
is
this is
Michael Jordan, this is Kobe Bryant.
yeah, this guy is fucking trippy. Like look up this guy, man.
Mm,
But I don't know if this is coming from him directly or someone else is interpreting, but it's the same idea. Consider the example of God's existence. Arguing that God exists is flawed. Arguing that God exists, arguing that God does not exist is equally flawed. Asserting God both exists and not exists is also flawed. Stating God neither exists nor does not exist is also flawed. So
mm,
basically, he just can't
no,
hang on to anything.
no.
He likes to like debate with people about their views. Like I call it dunking on Brahman. You know, like how Buddha kind of deconstructs the Brahman view. He would go to the Brahmins, be like, "Hey, I know you're in this like Brahman God bliss being state, but there's more. You can empty out that as well, and then you can empty out emptiness, right?" And then so this guy kind of does the same thing.
Mm,
So, but he will use like poetry. That's not exactly poetry, but the way he speaks is so poetic. It's almost like the Wittgenstein of enlightenment too. Like if Wittgenstein got enlightened, it would be this guy. Like he uses logic to deconstruct logic. So this guy would debate with people while not standing on any ground or not holding any view at all.
mm.
So that's actually very difficult to do. But then he'll also remind you that whatever he's using right now is still just concepts too. Even nirvana is empty, the Four Noble Truths is empty. But then again, at the same time, if you say this too early, you can spiritual bypass too.
Yeah, that's the other part of
Yeah.
the double-edged sword. The other part of
Yeah.
the sword. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are these radical non-dualists, not ists, but they're talking about. They're only talking in terms of there's nothing, there's no one, there's no path, there's uh
Right.
totally focused on the absolute view of
Mhm.
reality, and then which is a very powerful pointer. And then there's the maybe he has a weakness of meeting relativity in a
Yeah.
good way. So
Yeah.
spiritual bypassing can occur with those
Yeah.
people.
At
And
the end, you realize that there's no absolute, the absolute destroys the relative destroys the absolute. So
yeah,
it's
that's
the
the fucking,
condition
right?
is the
The, the,
yeah, yeah. It's this right here is the absolute.
yeah,
This the unconditioned is the conditioned. The unmanifested is the manifested. That the nirvana is samsara. So all you're left with is the conditionality of the world, of the universe. So everything is just the cosmic condition of the universe. You can never escape this cosmic conditioning,
no,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
There's no separate observer apart from this cosmic conditioning. This stream of dependent arising processes interacting. Like you can't stick your head out of it. That's what I'm saying.
no,
Like
no, yeah,
self is just part of that cosmic conditioning. The God consciousness is just part of that cosmic conditioning. There's no special state. There's no source of anything. There's no source of experience. That's why a lot of my videos talk about deconstructing the source, deconstructing the absolute. Not saying absolutes don't exist. You can't say they exist or not exist. It's like, okay, if the Brahman experience presents itself, it's not a source of anything. Because even awareness, even having perception right now is codependent. It's a codependent arising process. Awareness or perception cannot exist apart from the object of awareness of the object or perception.
Right.
So you can't sit on any ground as being like, this is the source of anything. Because if you feel that way, if you experience anything as the source of a ground, that's some identification there you haven't deconstructed. There's some kind of a self in there that you haven't deconstructed.
Mm.
But even the notion that there is no absolute itself can be a ground. So you just gotta keep going meta until there's no more lens left, no more levels left.
Yeah.
Then throw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Does it feel like everything is just being thrown away automatically almost now?
It almost feels like that. That's why I say in my last video that the real insight about impermanence is that there is no impermanence. Because everything is arising and passing away so quickly, even like this boundless consciousness is just refreshing itself moment to moment to moment to moment. Everything is dying and being reborn, dying and reborn simultaneously every moment. So if the rising and passing away is happening so rapidly, then there is no rising and passing away, because things can't even arise, don't even have enough time or have the container of space to arise to be impermanent. So that's another paradox where stillness and movement becomes one. When eternal awareness and experiencing everything moving at the speed of light becomes one. Like my favorite analogy is the speed of light. The speed of light is a constant, but then the speed of light is also fucking fast. It's so fast that it's not moving. Yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another koan. Another one, another koan that I would say is you can't move forward, you can't go backward, you can't stand still either. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Where's
Like
that
a
point? You can't
yeah.
find that point, because going forward and going backward and standing still, they codependent rise, just like the present, the past, and the future codependent rise. Neither or any of these things has an inherent existence.
Yeah.
So you can't find nirvana actually. Like nirvana is not a thing.
No.
You can't be like, oh, nirvana is this unconditioned state where nothing arises, where this eternal ground. No, that's not that either. Like you can't describe it at all. Actually, in a sense, it doesn't even exist. But then you can describe it as this singularity that gives rise to all the existence. Right? Like if me and you codependent rise right now, and you don't exist unless I exist in this moment, where is the you and an I in here, apart from this process of relation? But what is that process of relation? It's not a thing, right? It's not something you can grasp onto and say, that's the thing. That's codependent rising. But that's emptiness. That's why emptiness and codependent origination cannot be separated. Yeah, that's why interconnectivity and emptiness cannot be separated. Just like the rainbow, no, everything has to codependent rise in that moment for the rainbow to appear. But the rainbow itself is empty. But you can see it. There's the rainbow, but there also isn't. It's there, but not there. And that's all. The rainbow is impermanent, because if any of the strings of dependent rising process disappear, all this causing and conditioning that have to come together in this precise moment, if any one of those strings disappear, the rainbow would disappear. So the rainbow is impermanent. And all the links of a dependent rising is also impermanent, because every link is also part of the infinite webs and infinite webs of causes and conditioning. It's like if I push you and you push me, in that moment we push each other and then we both kind of exist. But if we both let go, we both fall back and we'll both disappear in a sense. So you can look at everything like that. There's like infinite webs and infinite strings of everything is pushing against each other, kind of pushing against each other. For a moment, it's there. But then the next frame of reality is like it's a different strings codependent rising already.
I remember after you after the big shift, May 2020. I think I remember the day. Was it 27th or 25th?
I don't remember anymore.
Okay, I
Yeah, I
remember
think.
your new birthday for a while. But you posted some animations of describing what you were experiencing, I suppose. And there were some interesting um I can't explain these animations that you posted, but do you think that describes um the natural state uh pretty well? I mean, as good as it can be described,
Yeah,
or
I think the innovation you're talking about is kind of like it's like a loop, right? Like something eating itself, something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I was thinking about that when you did this, and I remember
Yeah, yeah,
Adi Ashanti said that this is he was asked in a panel discussion, what's the main, it was with Rupert Spira and some other teachers, what's your main part of your teaching? And he was like, this. But I'm not
yeah.
sure if that's what you meant. Anyway,
Maybe
it's
it
yeah,
feels
there's so
like
many
every
angles you can
sensation.
take, but there's just one
There's a
thing.
lot of yeah, there's a lot of angles you can slice it, and sometimes I describe it as that you're eating the whole universe while the universe is eating you. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
So like every sensation is kind of just penetrating itself through and through. So there's no like center to any sensation. There's no solidity to any sensation. There's no solidity between the body and the world. There's no solidity between a sound and another sound, between the air and the sound. So everything is kind of like looping into itself.
mhm, mm.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
you can say that's also part of the dependent rising process as well, you know.
does it feel
That's the string. That's the stream of dependent rising.
yeah. Hmm. Maybe now I'll look at some notes here because we're about there where I'm actually I have some questions. It's just some notes really, but um, it's well, is it you took 5-MeO DMT, right?
Yeah.
Or was it DMT? Normal DMT? Was it
I
5?
did DMT, normal DMT, 2014.
Yeah.
And I did a 5 ml DMT 2018. That was the last time I did it. And that was
Oh,
before stream entry, before any kind of permanent perceptual shift. But that
how
was
was
the
that
first time
experience?
I had a glimpse of non-duality, but it was still coming from a center.
Hmm.
Yeah. So sometimes I say even the natural state was even more powerful than that. But of course, the reason why that 5 experience seems so powerful is because I still had so much conditioning. It's the conditioning and the rest of the selves respond to this that was causing the wow, holy fuck,
Hmm.
that's crazy. But even at the Big Bang, the moment of the Big Bang, I was like, holy fuck, that's crazy. There's still something in there that's saying that, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, but then of course, the moment of the realization, you can't just dissolve everything at once, you know. So even
Is it
though
kind of like
this state right now, I mean, right now it's the same as the Big Bang. It's the same as before the Big Bang, actually, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
right now, I'm not going whoa anymore,
Hmm.
right? Because the part of me that goes wow has been dissolved. So it's actually just completely ordinary right now. But sometimes I still say it's kind of like exactly like the 5 MO experience, but without anyone there to be like, wow. Because the 5 MO experience is just if you break through, it's just the experience of emptiness, of like interpenetration.
Hmm.
So when I was in the 5 MO experience, I had that feeling of everything is, interconnected, how like I was physically and viscerally like fucking my friend that's right in front of me, even though like there was space between us. I was like, holy fuck. I actually feel like I'm like penetrating you. But it was just the mind that's penetrating itself.
Hmm.
I saw my friend, but friend is just a projection of my mind. But the mind is always itself, right?
Hmm.
So I was just seeing what's always the case. But then there was still so much self in there that was going wow, and there was so much visuals too. There's a lot of like energetic unfoldment, a lot of energetic shifts, a lot of energetic cleansing that was going on.
Mm.
That's causing the visuals.
Mm. The
So this
you
is kind of
before
like
the
5-MeO without 5-MeO, without any, it kind of
uh,
just eats itself away. You know what I
okay.
mean?
Uh, I did a 5-MeO a year and a half ago. It
Oh, how
was
was it?
I didn't break through, I think. Um, but it was the hardest psychedelic, most intense for sure. Uh, of There was this storm of losing control and dying, and um, at the first inhale, it was a handshake dose first. It was just a little taste at first, but yet it was a huge storm in my mind, of freaking out over losing control. And then he put some more into it 20 minutes later after I've relaxed. And then it was calmer. Actually, I calmed down more, even though I smoked more. It was more calm. And then we ran out of time, so he had to go. We were the last session there, so he had to travel to his country. So I didn't get the third, uh, round, which might have maybe I would be breaking through then. But yeah, I find it interesting all this because I've experienced a lot of cessations, hundreds probably, and some of them are just it's uh, it's really yeah, literally mind blowing, like a cosmic orgasm, and
Yeah, definitely.
like the universe is busting a nut. I describe it. But yeah, if I'm not afraid then of experiencing that, or it's not, I don't have a resistance to that. Before that happens, it's just releasing itself. But yet, in some psychedelic trips, I can be very um, anxious. So I've always wondered why that is. So I'm actually every few weeks or so, every couple months, I do some trip of some kind. Um, I like MDMA and cannabis. I have a friend, Marius. He's also really into this, and he found this method of doing MDMA and cannabis because it's a nice combination. Um, but yeah, if I take and that's working out fine because MDMA lowers anxiety, and then cannabis
Yeah.
can kind of take on and do the healing and the open the default mode network. Um, and then healing can take place, or and some non-dual seeing can occur, which feels very sobering when it happens. Actually, it doesn't feel like a state. But yeah, I've
Yeah, because
always.
with psychedelics is actually working in terms of like awakening. It's just you just decondition yourself very quickly. So 5-MeO DMT is just you are letting go or dissolving a huge chunk or maybe all of your conditioning all at once for like 5 minutes. And then of course it comes back because the faster you take it away through psychedelics, the faster it comes back. That's why people always contract back or even suffer even more after that, right? So maybe your MDMA cannabis experience is that too. It's just the deconditioning of conditioning, and then you're just seeing what's already there. So it's not really the trip that you're experiencing when you're having a clear glimpse of non-duality, right? It's just like the trip is just the catalyst for you to see what's already there. That's how psychedelic works in terms of the awakening process.
Huh. Have
So
you
when I
done?
was having when the part about you said about like feeling fear, I think
Mhm.
it's because you practice cessation so many times already. Like before my first cessation at my second retreat, that kind of fear that I was experiencing was even probably greater than before I took DMT, because I just felt like I was physically going to die. And
In
even
the
someone,
cessation, before
and
the cessation?
yeah, before cessation, the first time I experienced it, it was a lot of fear. And then even
Mm.
after that, because my mind already kind of knew that I was going to be like that. So the substantial times that I was getting cessation after that, there was a lot of fear because there was some expectation of me dying. So that
Oh,
plays a
okay.
role in that as well.
Mm.
So maybe that some part of that fear from psychedelics is also just your mind telling yourself stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just a belief that you have that psychedelics is gonna kill you faster than a cessation, right? That's just some thoughts.
Mm, mm,
Yeah. But maybe for another person, he's done a lot of psychedelics. He's not afraid of psychedelics anymore. Maybe he, conquered the fear, worked through it enough times, uh, won't be afraid of psychedelics, but maybe he will be afraid of cessation if he didn't have one, or he have a
yeah.
different kind of expectation around cessations, or
Yeah. Yeah.
but
There's so much
also
available.
psychedelics a lot more power. Like psychedelics can potentially be a lot more powerful. That you can there's even though if you enter a cessation, if you deconstruct a lot of or remove a lot of your conditioning all at once through meditation, I think a huge dose of psychedelics will remove even more. So one of my favorite teacher, Artem, he said, psychedelics is forced meditation. They're actually doing the same thing.
Mm,
So it's like meditation on steroids almost. So of course, meditation on
mm,
steroids is gonna trigger more dissolution, more energetic shifts than just meditation itself. So
mm.
that probably also explains why there's more fear around taking 5-MeO-DMT. Also because, again, I said you're not that familiar with it yet.
Mm. I also interviewed Evan McMullen. Do you remember him? He
Oh
was
yeah,
in
yeah.
your podcast with Daniel Ingram and Michael Taft because I told about my very humbling mushroom trips, and he said that mushrooms and ayahuasca they have some plant entities that are teaching, and if you have tough, humbling mushroom trips, he said that it's probably because they think that you can handle it, but I don't know. It makes me feel better about it, but I don't know. Yeah, it
Yeah, it's hard to say.
might be just I'm kind of I'm an artistic guy, and I have some neuroticism. Although I've had a good mastery of the insight path. Uh, I might have maybe a harder time with the conditioning and the healing part of all this work.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe the psychedelic is just going deeper into conditioning, so that's why there's more fear because the more things you're letting go of.
Mm,
So,
yeah, I'm tempted to talk about desires. So
oh, okay, sure.
another thing we've had in common. Maybe you had a higher drive, but you had some sex addiction. Yeah, you've been very open about that in many podcasts. And yeah, being in the pickup, doing consciously seducing. Uh, and
Yeah.
I have also been in that space where I wanted to learn how to pick up girls. Um, it was interesting to me from when I was like 18, 19, started practicing it, approaching women when I was 21, 22, 23. And it's been this, yeah, there's this strong desire, and it can um, still pull me a bit out of, just the admiration, the longing for approval, maybe it is, or maybe it is some power craving. Um, I don't know what it is, but a beautiful woman can really get my mind hooked a little back into samsara slightly. It happens very subtle, but how's that been for you? If you want to share after the big shift.
After the big shift, there I was still like pretty horny for a while. Actually, especially doing my Kundalini unfoldment, which is is maybe like second path or whatever. If you want to go with the Daniel Ingram map,
Yeah.
when my Kundalini thing was going, when my Kundalini energy was bowling, I was actually more horny than ever before.
Mm,
Yeah, because I
mm,
was tripping on my own conditions. So even after the Big Bang, there was still some kind of a little bit of energetic stuff still going on. It's all settled now, but for like a year and a half after the Big Bang, even though my sexuality went down low, significantly lower, when it rises, I can still feel pretty horny. I want to like go do pickup actually.
Mm,
Yeah, but I'm
mm,
doing it way less than before. Before it was like every fucking week I have to go pick up a new girl every week.
mm,
So from every week to like maybe every month to like every 3 months. And after the Big Bang, it's almost like, yeah, I can go pick up like one or two girls a year, then I'm fine. But then now it's just like I don't have to pick up at all.
mm,
I have no inclination to go clubbing at all. But I do
mm,
have like a kind of like a partner now. We don't really have any titles, but I do have a partner. And then we do have sex. We have like really good sex actually. But if I'm not like in the moment, I don't my sex drive is almost zero.
mm.
Yeah.
Have you changed the view on sexuality or the because I see these videos where you're looking at I assume this is who you mean with your partner.
Yeah, the one I'm
The
most like,
lady, yeah, in New York, you're
yeah.
sitting together looking at each other on the subway in front of museums. And yeah, there's this I see that there's this strong uh energetic connection. You're just looking at each other.
Yeah.
That's
That's
kind of
actually one of my only practices now. It's like a little bit of
spiritual practice.
tantra. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we just look at each other. Actually, that's a really good practice because like most people would feel more awkward having sex. No, most people will feel more awkward looking at strangers in the eyes than having sex with them. Actually, Artem, the teacher that I described, he said during his retreat, he has a lot of people just do some eye gazing because you can see how awkward it is to look at someone in the eye, and you can see how much conditionings are surfacing and releasing and coming out when you just look at each other in the eye, right? So he even said that there are couples that have been married for like 10, 20 years.
Mm,
They look at each other in the eyes like that in a meditative way, they would feel awkward too.
yeah.
So that's very interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so there were some energetic exchanges going on between me and her in the beginning, but not anymore. That's the interesting thing. It's like there was a little bit of conditioning around that even when I first
Mm,
met her.
mm,
When I first met her, when I'm looking into her eyes, there was like a little bit of visuals of like I'm seeing some kind of a entity. I know it's empty, but it's still like a very some very deep condition that arises through that practice. Like I was seeing like Shiva through her. I was seeing like Indian goddesses. I was seeing
mm.
like deities through looking at her in the eyes when I first met her.
Yeah.
I also saw my ex-girlfriend who I also did some
Yeah.
gazing like before the Big Bang.
Mm,
I saw a little bit of her too. So there were just like some flashes of visualization or visuals that
mm,
arised when I was looking at her in the beginning. But now we still look at each other a lot. But now when I look at her, nothing. No energetic shifts. It was just very ordinary two people looking at each other.
mm. And do you
So
think
I actually think that she actually helped me um, dissolve almost like my last bit of conditioning around spirituality. Because why would I see deities or like Shiva when I looked at her?
mm,
Because there was some very deep part of my subconscious, there's still some spirituality programs in there.
mm, mm.
Just by looking at her, that got released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm
So
happy
like I
for you.
said, that's just part of the deepening. That's part of the deepening. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
So in terms of desire, it's like we actually practice like because she's really into tantra actually. Even
mm,
before she met me, she had a partner that they practice a lot of tantra.
mm,
And I never got into tantra before. Like, well, before my understanding of tantra was actually everything you do after emptiness, after no self or anatta, whatever you want to call it, is tantra. Tantra is basically the practice of putting energy or putting form back into emptiness. And it's also part of the integration and cleaning up as well. In Dzogchen, for example, they'll have people after they realize the nature of mind to just go out and engage in things that might trigger you, or engage in everyday things, or maybe Zen, carry water, chop wood. By just doing everyday things, by engaging with the world, you are integrating emptiness into form and putting form into emptiness. So the reason why sex and tantra go hand in hand is because sex is such a strong condition for most people that if you can have sex while still being non-duality, while still being in emptiness,
Mm.
then then you are pretty fucking realized, right?
Mm. Mm.
So when we have sex, it's like she would ask me to do it extremely, extremely slowly.
Mm.
Like it would be like penetration would be like
Mm. Luke is very into that.
we
He's
we, we can Luke.
yeah, he's very
Yeah,
into slow sex. Yeah, he calls
yeah,
it
okay, yeah,
carezza.
yeah,
Does she
exactly.
call
Yeah.
it carezza?
I'm not sure what she calls it, but basically what happens is I realized I had a lot of conditionings around coming, around if I fuck a girl and I have to, even if I masturbate, I have to ejaculate. Or even if I get a boner, I have to masturbate. That's just part of the conditioning for most
Mm.
people, for most guys, right? So through that kind of practice, you kind of decondition your body mind to not associate coming with sex. And by going really slowly, you're kind of working with the sexual energy. So I could feel my sexual energy when I was doing the slow sex to like be sucked into my body and going up into my head. And then I'll experience almost like a full body orgasm without orgasming. And then what happens is that you cultivate that energy and you bring it back into your balls, into your dick. And you do that with a partner. So it's almost like two snakes that are eating each other. It's like two,
Mm.
the symbol of the snake biting its own tail, right?
Mm.
So you have me doing that, and she's also doing that, and together we're also doing that. So it's like the
Mm.
snake is biting its own tail, fucking a snake that's biting its own tail, and then together, two snakes biting each other's tails, while at the same time
Yeah.
biting their own tails simultaneously. So you cultivate that
Yeah.
energy, and instead of just coming, you bring that energy back into your balls, and your partner is doing the same thing, and you're doing that together, kind of like this, uh, just this feedback loop. And every time you cultivate it and bring that energy from your head back to your balls, and from your balls back to your head, you dissolve more conditionings around coming, while at the same time having an experience of orgasm without orgasming.
Mm.
But that's more like a relative level practice, because
Mm.
you can realize emptiness and anatta while still not doing that when you have sex. Or you can not realize anatta or emptiness and practice that.
Mm.
So it's almost kind of like Dana Ingram practice like fire casino, right? So
Mm.
you can have practice fire casino as part of your integration post awakening, or even before awakening, you can still practice fire casino and get all the visuals. So to me,
Mm.
that practice is almost like it's an integration practice, and it also helps me decondition very deep programs about like coming, for example. But can I say they really contribute like that? I wouldn't say that practice itself would lead to awakening. It
Oh.
can, anything can lead to
Mm.
awakening, right? Just like I can't say tell you, just like jhanas itself can might not lead to awakening, but
Mm.
it's a very good tool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What could it lead to? What could it lead to? Some other benefits or
What's
some
that?
experiences? What else could it lead to?
You mean practices like tantra or jhanas, like energetic practices?
Yeah,
Just
like healing,
yeah,
dissolving
healing.
conditioning.
Yeah. So again, like I said, that could also lead to awakening. But like, if you only practice that without insight practices, it's probably not going to lead to awakening. So
Mm.
you need both. But if you only practice insights, if you only realize wisdom without like the integration of the form, without putting form back to emptiness, that's also kind of one-sided as well.
Mm.
But like I said, after anatta, everything you do is tantra. It's just some tantra are more tantra than tantra.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
everything that I did after anatta was kind of like that. Was kind of like learning how to drive the formless infinite car. or learning how to sit back and just relax in the self-driving car.
Michael Taft
That's
teaches
a lot of time.
Tantra
Yeah.
or has practiced a lot of Tantra, but I think it's a classic Tantra, so I'm not sure how much sexual element he has in that practice, but um, I think you've met him and hung out with him,
Yeah.
but I think he that was a way for him to integrate the realization
That's for him to
into the
integrate. Yeah.
body. Yeah.
So like I said, even if you don't know anything about Tantra, everything you do after realization is quote unquote Tantra. It's just
Mm.
like the Vajrayana system. The whole system is designed around that kind of practice, that kind of integration. That's why they say when emptiness ends, we begin.
Yeah.
So if you go into Tantra with the intention of integration after realization, that's like doing what you're already doing anyway on steroids. And the
Yeah.
sexuality part is almost like the Tantra of the Tantra, because there's so much
Yeah.
condition around sexuality. There's so much energy around the sexual energy is so powerful to like work with and cultivate energy or to integrate through sex. It's such a powerful way to like not just integrate, but to like play around with the form,
Yeah.
to play around
Yeah.
with the appearance, velocity.
Yeah. 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 I think I'm getting it now,
Yeah.
to a degree,
So
what you're
it's kind of
saying.
meta. Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's like, okay,
Mm.
you can realize I'm outside and just forget about spirituality. But everything you do from that point on is quote unquote Tantra. But if
Mm.
you choose to go to Vajrayana, then that's Tantra on top of Tantra. And then if you choose to focus on sex through Vajrayana, is Tantra on Tantra on Tantra. It's just like fractals of Tantra. But it's all the same thing, right?
Mm.
It's just like
Mm.
you're setting attention to target that
Mm.
part of the practice.
Mm.
Yeah, with a system or like with slow sex, with a specific technique, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see.
So in terms of desire, I just have one more thing. It's like even though
Yeah.
my desire is like almost non-existent now, when I
Mm.
do have sex now, it feels better. It feels like non-sex. It's like it kind of feels like that's why sometimes I say without the observer, perception becomes more panoramic, more luminous, and more HD.
Mm. It's and there was
But
this
that's the paradox, right? That's the
oh yeah,
paradox. Yeah.
totally. You posted
Yeah.
something quite well, it was a long time ago, but it was after the shift, and it was this chart of the non-dual state being, I think it was Gary Weber or some friend of his who interviewed people who claimed to be realized in the non-dual perspective, and who compared the experience of the non-dual state with other experiences, such as psychedelics and such as
Oh yes,
sexual
I remember.
unity with sex, and and it ranked over all of those experiences. So
It's almost like the ground that gives rise to all these experiences.
yeah,
But yeah, so if you become the ground, those experiences can be more vibrant.
yeah,
But at the same time, there's no feeler in there to feel it. So that's the
yeah,
paradox. It's like I
so,
can have sex. The sex itself can be more vibrant
yeah,
and more intense, but there's no one there to feel it in a sense.
mm,
Like when I smoke weed right now, it's
yeah,
like I get high, but at the same time, I never get high. I actually
mm.
dropped a lot of acid about 2 months ago,
Oh
just
yeah,
a
how
way to
much?
kind of tap realization. I did 2 taps. That's actually a lot for me because when I was going through the unfoldment, when I was still having a lot of energetic shifts, when I was still dissolving, I dropped like a microdose and it felt like a DMT trip.
Okay,
But now
okay,
I dropped 2 taps. So that's why like for 2 years I was kind of just didn't touch psychedelics because I was already on it feels like I was like on psychedelics like every day for like 2 years after the shift. But when that
mm,
energetic shift finally all settled down, and I took acid, 2 taps of acid like 2 months ago, almost nothing. Like there was no visuals. There's just a slight bodily high. That's it. But
mm,
weed, for some reason, because weed is so visceral and so kind of, in a way, like sensorial and physical, like my body can still get high, but then the mind isn't high at all.
mm. mm,
Yeah, but the acid for some reason just didn't do anything except for a little bit of like bodily high. It's almost
mm,
like when I took the 2 tabs, I almost felt like I just drank a Red Bull, like a cup of
mm,
Red Bull.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So acid became completely like obsolete. While things like sexuality, things with the body, you can like the body can kind of experience it more intensively, but then there's no one in there to experience it. So that's the
mm,
paradox. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's nothing to there, there's not that identification in the way. There's not that wall between you and the experience. There's just the experience
There's just the experience.
fully
Without the
being
that's why I
itself.
always say without the yeah, without the experiencer, the experience is more vibrant. That's why after realization, like your sensory clarity becomes that much more powerful.
Mm,
Because
mm,
without the seer, the scene becomes much more HD and
yeah,
panoramic. That's the whole thing about the 360 awareness. It's just like when you remove the observer, of course it's panoramic because the war is panoramic in a sense, but it's also at the same time flat.
mm,
It's
mm.
it's it's almost like a flat sphere, a flat but boundless sphere. That's another way to describe it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Huh. Was there a fear before the big shift, or maybe after? Some teachers talk about a terror stage. Um, did you experience that?
Oh yeah, all the time before. Like every time there was an unfoldment, there was just as much bliss as terror.
Mm,
Sometimes they go together, sometimes it's a phase, sometimes I'll be like very blissful for a while and then terror.
mm,
Like
mm,
just a
mm,
very visceral fear of death. But then you just have to keep letting go.
mm. Maybe this is
But
just
like
a
I said, no, not everybody is gonna experience something so like extreme because I had so much conditioning. So when those conditioning are getting dissolved, it's life and death.
mhm,
But like
mm,
some people's path might not be this extreme because they might not have a lot of conditioning to begin with. So their shift might be just like what you said earlier, like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. But
mm,
for me, it was like, fuck, because like there was so much things that was getting
mm,
dissolved. So of
mm,
course, then the experience are going to be more intense. So
mm,
that's why sometimes I warn people not to like. So a lot of people they watch my videos are like, I have to experience like this like cosmic orgasm, or else I like I don't have the insight. That's not true at all.
mm,
The insight is just what's always the case, right? So if you don't
mm,
have a lot of response to that insight, it's just oh okay, that's just how it is, right?
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've fixated on that. Both the maybe especially the terror stage. Some of that oneness stage that Adya is talking about. Um, but that is I've seen a lot of people who have look at least very relieved on camera talking about non-dual realization. They don't talk about a God stage. Maybe not even a stream entry kind of thing either. But that so I don't expect that. But I have actually maybe without maybe there's no need to, but I think I've gotten an expectation of oh, there's going to be a a, a terror state of confronting death. Uh,
Yeah,
but maybe
it
that's my
probably will.
mind.
Yeah, that's completely just your mind story. Like all
Yeah.
the terrors, all the fears is actually completely irrational when you look back on it, because an illusion can't really die, and what you really are can't die either.
Uh,
Like death is just a. And I'm not saying like the physical body can't die. I'm just saying the way our mind interpret death is just completely irrational.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm, nice.
Yeah. So all the
Yeah.
fears are just thought based. It's mostly thought based. Yeah.
Cool.
What's dying is just your identification to things. That's it. So what's really dying is really just the grasping.
Mm,
So you're just letting go of the grasping. But because that grasping has been identified with you as a person, or you as an ego, or you as a self, or as life so much your entire life, that even just letting go of grasping can feel like death.
yeah. Mm. Hmm. Well, it's been a very interesting an hour and a half plus. Uh,
that was yeah, yeah, really interesting
yeah.
stuff.
Mm. Yeah, and then so good to see you and talk to you again. You've
Yeah,
been
it's amazing to talk.
you've been a very big inspiration for me since well you talked to me about the Daniel Ingram. I saw that you were going through that I think it was the stream entry shift that you would call it, maybe still. Uh
Yeah, I think after maybe like around stream entry and the Kundalini phase, like
yeah,
2019, I think that I
you
was
shared
talking about.
about
Actually,
the
you sent me the Adyashanti course about no self.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of helpful for during that time too, because like I was still like
Yeah.
deconditioning some very deep conditioning. So that course actually helped me dissolve a lot of stuff.
Oh, good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good
it seems like
course.
you came a long way since that the when I first told you about Dana Ingram.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this dream entry shift uh, was in 2016. Uh, And I you
Wait,
recommended me Daniel.
2016?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, 2016, I wasn't even into Dana Ingram yet. I discovered Dana Ingram in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. And you shared it with me in that period. Maybe a couple months
Oh,
after. And then I started reading him. And I
so it's
spent
like
maybe some
you already
months.
had a cessation. You already had a cessation before you read the Dana Ingram book.
Yeah, like 3 years before. Yeah.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
wow. I
And
had my
then
first cessation in 2019.
yeah, yeah. It's so interesting how different the journeys are, how
Yeah, everybody's
multifaceted it seems.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Mm. So yeah, and then maybe a couple months after I was done with the book, or maybe around that time, I saw that you posted that video, the full enlightenment happening live video.
Mhm.
And oh, it was such a to me it was a big inspiration, and I wrote a comment there. This is what YouTube is for, uh, because it's so yeah, it was so I guess I mean how could one actually capture that exact moment? Uh, so it was like a God's gift that because it's so it becomes more real when you actually see it happening to a person through
Mhm.
video. Uh, So that was do you think that was kind of a synchronicity that you filmed that exact
No,
moment?
I just have my camera on all the like
Yeah,
I'm filming all the time, right? But that day I knew something was interesting, something was different. So I started
yeah.
filming, like I filmed my workout. But during that period, I wasn't filming that much workouts, right? But then for some reason that day, I just decided to film my workout because I knew something was different.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I had a lot of insight just pouring in my mind that day. So like before the workout, I was really, even the night before, I was like having so many insights and so many things dissolving that I was already kind of recording myself talking about the insight, and then it just went from there. Yeah, and I was also inspired by Leo Guru because like he filmed a lot of his like psychedelic breakthroughs, right?
Mm,
I think if I didn't see his videos doing that, I probably wouldn't even think to turn my camera on doing it
mm.
because that experience was like I don't know, maybe I would, I'm not sure, but I remember just having this thought about okay, Leo Guru filming his like DMT breakthrough. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna film whatever this breakthrough is too.
Yeah.
Because I had other breakthroughs before. Like doing a breakthrough was just so intense. I didn't there was no thoughts about filming it. But for some reason, I just thought of Lil Gura, and then I just like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna start recording and see what happens.
Mm. That was so cool that that video was there. Yeah. It gave me more confidence that it could actually be done. The book of Daniel Ingram is very motivational, and uh, and then I when I also saw that you, who I know, um, actually had that breakthrough that Daniel Ingram was talking about in the book, it boosted my practice so much more. I became so much more dedicated,
And I
which
always say one person's
focused.
awakening. awakening.
Was that?
It's like one person's awakening is it's everyone else's awakening. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like my awakening wasn't even mine. It came from all the people from before.
Mm,
And then like it's not even in time, it's just like kind of like every time somebody pops,
mm,
like the codependent rising process just would pop other cherries too. But that the popping of other cherries comes back and pop yours. It's like it's just a reciprocal feedback loop happening.
mm.
And
Yeah.
not just awake with
So,
awakening, with everything actually. Yeah. And then the Kelly Baggett book is also did the same thing for me. It was like I saw Kelly Baggett posting a picture of him like jumping, like having his all head out like on the rim, and he's like 5'9" and he's white. And then I'm
mm,
just like, start out with 23-inch vertical. And then it's not just the picture that did it,
mm,
it was just like the way he described the process of getting a 40-inch vertical, or just getting vertical in general was like so pragmatic, and just so it makes just made sense,
mm.
right? So,
Yeah.
but that's why I said that the Kelly Baggy book and the Dana Ingram book, and the both of them like just made me just kind of like my effect on my videos effect on you, just like, oh wow, this thing is just systematically doable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's yeah, both of those books there um motivate to some kind to one accomplishment that seems impossible. Uh but apparently isn't. Like
Yeah,
the Kelly Bagget book. I could because I knew that it was hard to become faster. And
right.
I read that if you're just born a sprinter, a good sprinter. You can't become a good sprinter. And
Yeah,
I mean I
sorry, my mom. Yeah, I have to go soon. I have to go meet up with my
yeah,
mom. But
yeah.
finish what you were saying.
Yeah, it was yeah, the feeling was like a kindergarten feeling of awakening. But yeah, I remember the inspiration when I saw Kelly Bagget and that uh possibility that you can become that much faster and jump that higher with just training. Yeah. Hey man,
Yeah,
thank you.
I will say that I will say that the analogy for like awakening and vertical jump, it's very good, but up to a certain point, it doesn't make sense anymore, because this is not entertainment at all, actually. Like the way I feel about it right now, it's absolutely
Mm,
not entertainment.
no, no.
You can say the attainment of non-attainment. It's just what's the case when drop some things.
Mm, mm, yeah.
But throughout the process, when you're unfolding, it really does feel like you're just getting more and more powerful. You're just jumping higher and higher. But
Mm,
when you look back on it, that's just how the mind was interpreting
mm, yeah.
the unfoldment. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not something you
It's personal
yeah
accomplishments is gone.
doesn't make sense at all when it comes to
No.
this actually.
Mm, yeah. Okay, thank you so much for showing up and sharing. Yeah, been a very good time. And
Thank you, Fred.
yeah, wish you a good time coming forward in Maryland.
Yeah,
And
I'll send you the recording from my part. It depends on how you want to do it. I mean, I can
yeah,
send you the I'm gonna send you the audio recording, which is like pretty good. I have a mic on here,
yeah, you
and
can
then
we transfer it. Yeah, that's
I'll
awesome.
just we transfer that to you. And then
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna make a video out of this conversation because I think it's really great.
Mm,
Yeah, but then I'll just
cool.
use my
Mm,
touch and other stuff.
yeah, yeah. Good to see you. And
Good to see you, Fred. Keep in touch,
yeah,
man.
yeah, let's keep in
Yeah,
touch.
where are you right now?
Norway, Oslo, near.
Okay, if I ever visit Norway, definitely
Y-
come stay with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
definitely stay with me.
I know a
Yeah.
couple of people in Norway. Like some of my clients are in Norway, but I don't know them that well. So
Right, yeah, but you know me. Yeah,
yeah, I know you. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We'll cross paths again.
definitely.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye.
Bye.